So we just got back from our sabbatical, and it looked a little bit different for both of us. But for me, I didn't do any work for 30 days, no email, no social media, and we learned some really important and surprising lessons. So if you ever want to do something like this, this might be helpful for you.
And a lot of people ask us questions about this too. So we're going to go over some of the most common questions that everybody wants to know about.
It's really like the same 2 or 3 questions over and over again, and we're going to answer them after we go through the top 5 kind of big, unexpected lessons that we learned.
Okay, so the first thing we learned is you really have to leave your common surroundings. Like the things that you see every day, you need to get yourself away from them, right?
And I hate that this is true, or has been true for us at least.
Yeah.
Because to me, it seems like you should be able to do this at your house, but we have tried in the past, and it just does not work as well. There's something about getting out of your everyday routine and breaking that. And for us, it has always meant going to an Airbnb somewhere else in different surroundings, and that has made a world of difference.
Yeah.
And when we've tried to do it at home in our regular surroundings, it just kind of changing all of our habits and routines, it just hasn't worked.
Yeah, you just don't do it. And what ends up happening is you're like, well, I'll just put away this laundry really fast. And you
slip into.
You find yourself in the exact same habits that you've just been doing. And so you don't really get the benefits of actually stepping away from what you're trying to step away from. Okay, so what we mean by your common surroundings are people, places, and things. So, your house and all the things in your house and all the projects that you want to do, stuff like that. People, like maybe your best friends, who are just going to really always have something for you to do and always be excited to see you, which is really fun.
If you're going out with the same people every single week, hanging out every single day, like it's just, you're not actually cutting away and stepping away.
And then, just familiar places even. I feel like there's just something special about leaving.
Yeah. And now the obvious thing, in which we struggle with at some points, is it's expensive to go somewhere else. But the way that we've done this is figuring out, okay, where can we go that's actually a little bit cheaper? And so that's what we thought through sometimes, because there's certain places you can go rent an Airbnb for next to nothing. I'm sure you can go up to some random place in Idaho or something in the middle of nowhere, which is perfect for a sabbatical. Like, the goal isn't to be in a super busy area with tons and tons of stuff to do. It's kind of the opposite. Like, you want like a retreat place where you can just get away and be alone. And typically those places are a bit cheaper if they're out of kind of big urban areas. So this idea of getting away from the common surroundings was just really surprising to us, and we have fought this like time and time again and tried to pull it off. And you might be able to make it work, but in our experience, and a lot of other people I've talked to have done sabbaticals, it's just really difficult to do. So the second thing that really surprised us is that you can actually still get a lot of benefit out of a sabbatical, even if you have a bunch of little kids like we have right now. We're in the craziness season where we have a 6-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 11-month-old. And it looks so much different than when we first did this, because when we first did a sabbatical, it was just she and I. And we would go rent a place, and we just spend like the entire day reading or praying, and
we didn't allow TV.
We didn't watch any TV, so it's just very isolated. But that's how we did it and how we made the most out of that time when we were single. But now that we have little kids, we'll go into the day and we have all these things to do, because it's like there's no vacation when you're a parent. There's no real breaks.
No.
So how we have done that, and I'll let you go into this and kind of explain it, but how we have done that is just kind of set a routine to help give us some breathing room to kind of get alone and decompress. Do you want to kind of go over that?
So what that looks like for us is we switch off days. So he gets a day and then I get a day. So we get up, get the kids up, whatever, eat breakfast, and then whoever day it is to leave gets to leave. And what we said this time was you can be gone as long as you want. For us, it normally worked out to be gone until about lunchtime or a little after.
And so where I would go, we were fortunate to be able to stay at the beach this time, which was great. We stayed at a nice condo on the beach. And so what I would do...
Don't we look tan?
And so what I would do is I would either go to like somewhere out on the beach and just read or walk and pray, or I would go over to a coffee shop and read a little bit, or I would go to the library, like anywhere around there that I could find where I could just kind of hang out and just spend some time thinking or praying or reading. And I would do that until I got my fill for the day, which normally was about 4 or 5 hours or something like that. And Linda and I were able to spend some good time in the morning praying together. But in general, the way that we found to get the most benefit individually was to basically take a day each and just kind of alternate. And what we found a couple of years ago, actually, when we did this, is that if we didn't do that, it was like nothing was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like we were just going to go for 30 days and it was just going to be like life as usual because a kid world, even though we were in a different environment, with the craziness of kids, we just weren't going to see much benefit.
Yeah. And also for me, my time looked different than his because I am a stay-at-home mom. I mean, obviously, I'm working with Bob now, but my typical day is to just be with the kids all day. So I did do some reading. I did a lot of just like listening to books or messages. And I did a lot of driving and worshiping in my car. That was really beneficial for me. So Bob was like, I'm going to read 50 books while we're here. That was not my thing. So he got a lot out of that. I would start reading and literally start falling asleep. I don't know why. It was just like too calming. Like I needed a little bit more. So yeah, I guess what I'm saying is this is the way we did it, but that doesn't mean that that's the only way to do it.
I think figuring out what's going to refresh you is a big part of this whole thing too.
And a lot of things that refreshed me, sometimes we're going to Target by myself, even if it was to get diapers.
Taking laps at Target.
Walks on the beach didn't hurt either.
Yeah.
That was pretty great.
All right, number 3 thing that was just kind of a little bit surprising when I kind of figured this out is that there's multiple layers of benefits to this whole thing. And the first one is just having concentrated prayer time where over this period of month, you're just hopefully, ideally, praying more and being able to spend more time with the Lord. And that is just really, really great.
Yeah.
And then there's like a reflective kind of component that is super beneficial where as you take this time and step away from work and step away from distractions, you can see your life at a 10,000 foot view a little bit better. You can get out of the weeds and you can see, all right, who am I and who do I want to be when I grow up? And who is God calling me to be? And ask these questions and be able to actually sit and think and see if what you're doing on a day-to-day basis is actually leading you to where you want to go.
Yeah. And if it's not, this is your time to like start planning. Like that's another one is you can just start, mapping out what you want the next year or so to look like, however long you determine.
Yeah, just having that dedicated time to plan, because I know for me, my every day is pretty busy, and taking like time to think and plan out the year is just a really big challenge in the midst of the craziness of day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And another one of these layers of benefit is like the concentrated time to read. And so like you alluded to, I love reading. And so during a typical one of these things, I'll read 10 to 20 books. And I love that, and I cherish that time, that concentrated time to learn a whole bunch and kind of get inspiration from a whole bunch of books. So that's another benefit. But lastly, even if there's nothing else, just not working or not looking at social media, like doing any of these things for that long, like is just restores your soul.
Yeah.
And it just does something that is inexplicable, and there's no real way to describe it without actually having done it, you know? But there's just many, many layers to it. And so I think initially for me, I just thought a sabbatical might have one of these benefits, but it actually has so many layers of benefits.
Number 4 is that life goes on pretty well without you.
Well, yeah. And like, I've been surprised how well my business can go on without me, which was the reason I fought taking a sabbatical for so long, because I just thought my business is going to go under if I'm not there, you know. And I've come to realize it's like I'm not as important as I thought I was in terms of my business.
Like you just think about different things. Like I really love Instagram. Like I think it's a little bit funny when I go on and find one of my favorite people and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry I've been so MIA today," and then it's like you see that they have like 40 stories in their thing and they're talking about how they've not been around, and it's like I didn't notice. Like I didn't notice, and not in a rude way. Life goes on, and I think the point is that a lot of the things we're doing are not nearly as important as maybe we think they are, or maybe that we want to think they are. Like the first year you took off, did you look at email just one time a week?
Yep.
And you really thought the business would explode.
Yeah.
And then you came home and you were like, well,
we made it. And then now, this last month, I went the entire month. I didn't check email the entire month. And I never thought I could go a day without checking email. But we can actually do it.
Yeah, we are all needed, but we are needed in probably different ways than we want to think we are.
Yeah. All right, number 5 is to have some fun, but don't let it turn into a vacation. And, and some people have different definitions of vacation, but for me, a sabbatical is a very different thing than a vacation. Mm-hmm. And like we're kind of hinting at a little bit, it's really easy to turn a sabbatical, like to just waste the entire thing away with just fun stuff. Yeah. And like, especially when you have a big family, like we do. So we would spend some of the afternoons occasionally doing fun stuff with the kids because we didn't, we want them to enjoy this. Mm-hmm. We don't want this to be torturous for them. And but it had to be in moderation because if every single day we had a big event planned and we were taking a day trip and going 2 hours over here to do this thing, like it would quickly just suck out all the benefit, all the time of actually decompressing, and you just stay on the treadmill of just constantly doing stuff.
And there would not be any real rest time.
Yeah. Because that's the point. If it's a sabbatical, it is to rest. It is to decompress. It is to allow your brain to be able to think, and to just kind of operate like that.
Yeah. I also want to address, like, we were able to do this for a month. We've done it for a month several times, which is a huge blessing. Like, we understand that. Like, we know that that's a huge blessing and that most people don't get to do that. But I think that you can get the same benefits with a week or a weekend or a day, just planning out that time and making it extremely intentional with whatever time you do have. So if you get 2 weeks vacation a year, maybe spend 1 week doing this. I think you will find the benefits of it are as good as a vacation, maybe even better in some ways. Even though it's kind of a different thing. And, it sounds a little bit like, well, I just want to go on vacation and chill and do nothing. But making this time really intentional instead brings a new refreshing instead of just kind of being a couch potato. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
for lack of a better.
It's better.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it's just absolutely better.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I would add to what you're saying is, start with one day. Like, it's amazing how many people don't go a single day without work. And so just starting with the regular Sabbath, on Saturday or Sunday, whatever you would prefer, and just make that something that you start doing regularly. Mm-hmm. And just that right there, you will benefit from that. And then when the opportunity presents itself that you can do a couple days or a week or whatever, start with that. And then, just continue praying for more opportunities to do longer stretches. And I think you might be surprised how God might open those doors for you. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to some FAQs, frequently asked questions that we get all the time.
All the time. All right, first one we already answered. What if I can't take them off? Okay.
We just kind of answered that, didn't we?
We jumped the gun on that, didn't we?
Yeah.
All right, number 2. I couldn't do that. I would get so bored. That sounds like something I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you might get a little bit bored, but that's kind of the whole point. Like, that's literally kind of the whole point. Like, our brains are so constantly entertained and so wired nonstop. I think a little boredom is actually healthy. Like, I just finished reading this book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, which is a fantastic book that I highly recommend. And even in the first chapter, it was just fascinating how he was talking about the history of the clock and how just having a clock has changed our world so much. Mm-hmm. And then the addition of like the electric light bulb and how much less we actually rest because of that. Anyway, all that to say, we live in a world that's so nonstop. To be bored just a little bit and to give your head a little bit of space is an incredibly healthy thing that I think far more of that we need, that we as a society just need.
Okay, so this was kind of a struggle for me because for a little bit I was getting pretty bored. But what actually ended up happening is I was able to start using my imagination again. Like imagining what would it be like if I solved this problem? What would it be like some of the things that I want to do in my life that I have not had the headspace to think about, I started using my imagination towards that.
Yeah.
So honestly, we moved 6 or 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And we have put up some of the decorations that we have, but I haven't spent energy decorating the house. And I was like, for the first time, I was like, what do I actually want to do to the house? How could I actually decorate in a way that would be really fun and, could
But
I
that
move
wouldn't have
this over
been-
here? But I
Yeah.
had no headspace to think about that
Yeah.
before because I was on Instagram and Marco Polo and
Yeah.
homeschooling and trying to work and, all the things that keep you busy every single day, thinking about dinner and lunch and breakfast and
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just one of the amazing benefits of having a little bit of
yeah.
headspace, right?
So getting bored sounds like something that is scary, but it actually is so, so good because it just brings you back to vision.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Getting clear on that. Another question I get a lot is, how do you not check email for a month? How does your business survive? Blah, 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 blah. I wrote an article about when we did one of these a couple years ago. And I'll have it linked up above. You can check it out or down in the description, where I go into a lot more detail of the how we do this and the autoresponder that I set up and how we structured our business to allow us to be able to do this. And so if you want any of those details, you can check out that article for kind of more on all of that. But all in all, we are really glad to be back. We are really excited about, we're not even getting into any of the details of some of the stuff that we got from God on this trip, some of the really clarity as we were praying about direction that we're going to go with the business and some of the exciting things coming up this year, which we're really pumped about that we'll get to share with you more and more soon. But it was a really great trip. We're really thankful for the opportunity to get to do it. I pray that you get to do something like it or do it. And if you have ever done anything like this, let us know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experience. And I have, just as a little bit more inspiration for you, I've never heard anyone who's gone on any kind of sabbatical regret that decision to do it. So if you have the opportunity, by all means, you should run with it. It'll be good for you.
Yeah, and try and create the opportunity for yourself.
Yep.
If you can. It's, highly beneficial.
Yeah. All right, that's all for now. Have a great day. We'll see you later.
Bye.